Round of applause for our CEO, Kurt Smith. He's running.
Dolly Parton was 27 years old and she walked into her manager's office. Many would say she had reached the pinnacle of her career. She was the star on the Porter Wagner variety show, but she played a breakup song to her boss. Imagine how hard that must have been for a 27-year-old. At age 13, she made her debut at the Grand Ole Opry, stunning the world, rising to the pinnacle of the industry. And here she was, knowing in her heart she wanted something different. She wanted to play a different game. She wanted to be a songwriter. That song was I Will Always Love You. It went on to top the Billboard charts. And very soon after that, it caught the attention of Elvis. So Elvis called her and said, hey, I want to record this song, but I have one condition. I want the publishing rights. Well, for those of us who don't know the songwriting industry that well, you can probably guess publishing rights are everything. So she had another critical decision to make. How committed was she to playing in this new game, to winning in this new way? She later recalls this was the hardest decision that she ever made. And she told him no. Here was Elvis, the biggest music star in the world, could have put her song on the world stage, and she said no. I'm a songwriter. It's my song. Years later, when Whitney Houston recorded her version of I Will Always Love You, I think we all know how this turned out, or most of us. It was a record-breaking 14 weeks at the box office, and I think Dolly made a little bit of money off that. But really what this was it was confirmation that Dolly's bold decision to stick to her guns, to play this new game, to make a clear decision about where she saw her future and the vision of where she wanted to go, and have the courage and to be brave and bold to make that decision. Just like Dolly, every single one of us in this room has a decision to make in the face of the most complex market dynamics our industry has ever seen. We can choose to continue to do things the way they've always been done, or we can be bold. We can make decisions about where we see the future. We can be collaborative in working together to solve those problems. And we can leverage the tools and the technology that is available to us to get a step ahead. At Fexa, we believe the future of the built world is unfolding before us. The question about the viability of brick and mortar is happening in every boardroom of every company that we work for. The Center for Retail Research says it's a permacrisis. They call out 4 key drivers that have impacted this industry. The first, the dramatic rise of online, right? You can pick any number of charts and look at, the trend is undeniable, we all live it in our daily lives. The percentage of purchasing, as this chart shows, happening in our economy, this particularly for retail and restaurant sales, is climbing at a pretty dramatic rate. The step change we saw in the pandemic, we didn't reverse. An unprecedented pandemic led to casualties and a transformation in the consumer in this industry. This chart shows just the number of bankruptcies we've seen over the past couple of years. Many of us have been part of these companies. Many of us know these stories really well. Historic inflation. To me, this shows the tale of two worlds. The before pandemic times when inflation was at a more normal trajectory, and now what we've seen over the past 3 years. Made dramatically worse, as we all know, by the trade shortages and the skill gaps that we see in the market. And lastly, there's an undeniable call for sustainability. This chart shows just the number of companies that have made science-based climate commitments publicly over the past couple of years. This is not a fad. This is not a trend. This is not an optional mandate on our companies. This is now. Each of these trends on their own would redefine an industry. But combined, I think the word is fair. It's a permacrisis. And every one of us is dealing with it in our own way. I know you feel it. I talk to you about it, and you tell us about it. And it's pretty clear the facility management community, we're at the epicenter of these things, right? We're dealing with it. But here's the thing. The people in this room, the facility management community, we are the group that is ready and able to rise to the challenge that we face. We're uniquely positioned to deal with it, and we're uniquely talented and have the experience to know how to address it. But the problem is, instead of us having the time to think strategically about these existential business challenges that our companies face, so many of us are caught up in a never-ending to-do list, just trying to keep our head above water. It's not good enough. The way we have been tackling the problem, the game we have been playing, is not working in this new world. Even Dolly had a song about being stuck in the daily grind. Maybe Bill Yannick can get her on the podcast. But there's good news. There are winning companies who are getting a step ahead, who are playing a new game. The old game used to be about centralizing everything. Remember that mantra? Hey, just get everything in one system, get everything in one place, and everything will then make sense. That used to be enough. Not anymore. You've got to automate that by default. You have to make the mundane, the ordinary, the things that are going on plan run smoothly and seamlessly with as little intervention as humanly possible. Data is everywhere. We hear it, we hear it, we hear it. It's not just enough to compile data and look at a benchmark. The winners of today are taking data and they're putting them through a human-guided model. What does that mean? The guided model determines the priorities. It has instructive language about how you want your business to operate. And it is trained on the data. Data alone is not going to get us to the promised land. And the winners of today are showing that. I think you're in this room because you understand this one at your core. When Mark Balsamo founded Fexa, it was based on this principle that we are better together than we are apart. The winners of today do not treat their partners, vendors, in a transactional way. It is a partnership. I hate to break it to you, but there is no one-size-fits-all workflow that's going to solve the problems of this industry. We all know we have unique needs. And yes, in many ways, we all understand we have to bend to the will of our businesses and our organizations. That's not going to change. Let's accept it, and let's determine how we can be effective in working with our business instead of working against it. The rigid technology that we see in the market is not doing enough. And neither is their business model. I'm going to call it out. Technology companies that are trying to extract margin from managed services or becoming a service provider, history is telling us a clear lesson: it doesn't work. We've seen technology companies be acquired by big services companies, and we see what happens. This is not a unique pattern. This is not a unique story. This happens in industry after industry. Every market converges on paying for value. Sustainability and compliance is no longer optional. The winners of today are proactive. They accept the realities of where the world is going and the demands of the market, your shareholders, every stakeholder in your business understands this driver. This is why Fexa exists. From day one, Mark Balsamo set out to help companies like you win in this new game. He saw a version of the future that was different than the tools we're able to support. And look, it's not their fault. The other systems and platforms and approaches that are out there, they just weren't built for this new game. It used to be enough. Our job at Fexa is to help you win in this new game so you can say goodbye to the daily grind and hello to being a step ahead. Full stop. So let me tell you a little bit more about where this comes from. Why are we driven in this way? And I should say, I wanted to add this point. Adam Grant, calls out the fact that, hey, being original, there's no first mover advantage that's critical to being the best at something. At Fexa, one of the things that has really benefited us as a function of being younger and newer and effectively a 6-year-old technology stack, we get to learn from the mistakes of our predecessors, right? The legacy platforms have taught us a lot of the missteps because being original doesn't require being first as long as you're different and better. So where does this come from? At Fexa, we're guided by a singular noble purpose, and that is to nurture our built world to elevate the human experience. We ultimately formulated that mantra, which has really been core to the way we've approached business from day one, not only as a way to think about how we approach the world from our perspective, but from your perspective. This is our commitment to the industry. This is our commitment to our customers. This is our commitment to our partners. If I had to point to one thing that separates Fexa from the pack, and I think I see this in many of our customers and partners as well, it's having this singularity of purpose that infiltrates the culture. I expect many of you observe this on a daily basis when you work with our teams. Our people are driven by this, and we've, as a result, have the best people in the industry. You also see this in our product. I want to talk a little bit about how this is showing up in our product today and where it's going. So first, as we think about product, our first focus is making sure that we are the best in terms of usability and flexibility. We've talked a little bit about why. We understand the demands for your time. We understand there's not a lot of patience when a system doesn't work. And we understand that there are ways in which you need to operate to bend to the needs of your business. And we want to fit that. We will fit that. And that is not a single summit that we will climb. That is a never-ending journey. Second, in our industry, there's a lot of folks who have a zero-sum game mindset. If I take $1 out of my left pocket and I put it in my right pocket, I didn't gain $1. Collaboration is how we're going to solve the real meaningful problems in our industry. Full stop. Everything that we do, we think about it from all sides of the ecosystem in the industry because we do deeply believe that there are ways to grow the pie that help everyone. I mentioned this earlier, but modern software tools, even AI, they're more capable than ever. So why are we spending so much time doing manual tasks, mundane tasks? We need to figure out how we can get back to the most complex strategic work that our businesses need us for. And the way that this comes together in our product strategy and how we think about it is each and every one of you need a way to orchestrate the built world. You need to have the human-guided dials on how your business operates. Our commitment is to delivering this platform against 4 values. The way this shows up and impacts your business I'm going to talk about it in 4 ways. So first, time savings. I know this is true for every one of you. Time is our most valuable resource as professionals. There has to be a continuous improvement cycle on how we are becoming more efficient and productive as teams, as individuals, and within our companies. It's a requirement. So how do we integrate the technology so that we can automate mundane, so that we can simplify and focus on the most important things that we're doing? Second, cost reduction. I want to be really clear on this point. We do not think about cost in one bucket of the industry or in one side of the equation at Fexa. We think about cost in the entire ecosystem and in the entire industry. This is different in the way that we approach the world. Compliance and sustainability, we've talked about it. Now more than ever, there's a moment to bridge compliance, sustainability, and operations. The tools need to be woven together. And that is our commitment, and that is the way we see the world unfolding. And lastly, better asset management. Managing assets should require very little judgment. Outside of setting the parameters for what we are solving for as a business. As our asset data and asset information becomes more centralized, we're able to marry both the spend and cost data along with the compliance and emissions data to answer really compelling, important questions really fast. We're chomping at the bit to show you more and how this shows up in our software. We've got a team here in the back who can answer specific questions, and we are going to deep dive into a product session here in a bit. But first, I'm excited to announce one way we're helping you win in this new game. For too long, you've had to choose, frankly, between the best facility management platform in the industry and one that has a service provider network. Not anymore. At Fexa, we've been on a mission to help multi-site operators and service providers collaborate. Introducing FexaLink, the industry's most collaborative provider network. We came at this problem with a completely fresh perspective. We had no initial ideas other than how do we solve the problems that we see in the industry? Service providers and operators are having a hard time finding the right fit. It's inefficient. And we think that there's a better way. We thought from first principles to solve the problems that we understand you're experiencing. So I want to share a few of those guiding principles that we applied when we set out to build this product. First, at Fexa, we are technology experts. Okay? What does that mean? It is really hard in business to do one thing well, much less two. History is clear. I'll repeat it. Companies that try to build great software and become a service provider or do managed services well, it's not a winning strategy. Our goal is to stay focused on our core, and that is building the best software in the world. And that it will never change. Because of this, we have no ulterior motives. We're an open book in this regard. We're going to charge for value, and we're going to build the best software in the world, full stop. When you look at markets and you look at how industries evolve and how we think about building out this service provider network, transparency wins. What does that mean? the more information, the more accurate data that we can provide to both sides of the network, that is going to make the market more efficient. It's going to allow you to connect and find the right partner more quickly. And that transparency is key to unlocking the value that we're looking to do. But data does not tell the whole story. I think there has been an over-rotation in this industry around believing that if I just have the data, if I can chart the distribution of my average invoices, if I can understand which trades I can swap out for a lower average invoice cost, and multiply that times the number of work orders, I can save that amount of money. You all know it. That's why you're here. Context matters. Every service provider is not the right service provider for every company, and every company is not the right customer for every service provider. I'm parroting back what you all have told me, right? It's not rocket science. So how do we activate that in a network to allow you to connect, tell your story in a unique way so that you can find the partners that make sense for the way you operate your business? That's what we're doing with FacilitiesX. Very excited for you all to see it. We're just getting started with how we're building out this network. And we really want your fingerprints. We really want your input. And we really want you to help us build this into something that can be special and support this notion of collaboration as we really build something that should be valuable to all of you. So with that, I want to thank everybody in the room for being here. You're here because you likely accepted the challenge to play a new game. That's what Fexa stands for. It's what we've always stood for. So in the spirit of Dolly, I challenge you, be bold. Find a single idea today. Take something back to your business that will challenge the way that you're working and figure out how you can win in this new game. Because the future of the built world is unfolding before us, and some of us will shape it. Thank you.
They let you dream just to watch them shatter. You're just a step on the boss man's ladder, but you got dreams.